Mitchell examined the body for the family, that the throat and other organs had been removed. So that your listeners understand, that's not abnormal. That is something that takes place normally during the case of an investigation and of an autopsy. So there's nothing that was wrong there. But at this point, Dr. Roger Mitchell, who did the independent autopsy from the family, has not been able to confirm any sense of foul play as of yet. That was undecided or undecisive. That does not mean that foul play may not have occurred. It just means that the autopsy that was conducted by the family did not show that conclusively. He saw some trauma to, some potential trauma to Nolan Wells's head. That was not something that he was able to explain as being the result of foul play. And we have yet to hear the state's autopsy and what they found or what their findings were. You may recall, and listeners may recall, that initially the sheriff's office said that they had no reason to suspect that foul play was afoot. And what I would say that this autopsy confirms from the family is that while that cannot be certainly confirmed, it still can't be ruled out. So finally, there are 60 witnesses that have been interviewed in the course of this investigation by the sheriff's office. There's likely going to be a presentation to the grand jury, and we don't know what the toxicology report will show from Nolan Wells because much of that is in the hands of the state. But as
Don't expect nothing from that grand jury, by the way. Don't expect it. Yo, don't expect a goddamn thing from that grand jury. Because how they presented that grand jury, they try to make it seem like, yo, the DA was going out of her way to bring it to the grand jury. Come to find out, the grand jury thing is just a routine thing, right? For any death where the cause is unknown, they investigate, they put the facts together, and then they present it to the grand jury. But if you present something to the grand jury that's slighted in the direction of no foul play, the grand jury doesn't do anything about it. So do not expect anything from that grand jury. Don't expect a goddamn thing from that grand jury at all. At all. And then also, too, now I'll be real, like this brother here, like Stephen A. Smith may have given us an interview with two tap dancers, to be honest, bro. He may have given us an interview with two tap dancers. Stephen A. Smith may have pulled off a slick one, right? He may have pulled off a slick one because the brother says he doesn't see any problem with them taking out the throat. Cool, but then why didn't the throat get packed up with the other organs that like y'all put and sent it over to the independent autopsy? Y'all did your autopsy because the family allowed y'all to do your autopsy first. So once y'all did your autopsy, the independent autopsy needed like Nolan's throat, his lungs, et cetera, to determine his cause of death. Was his lungs waterlogged? Because if it was waterlogged, then he drowned. If it was not waterlogged, then he did not drown. He was murdered before he hit the water. But an independent autopsy who needed the lungs and the throat to determine the cause of death, he couldn't get that. He couldn't get that because they kept it. So why would this brother say, who is supposed to be on the side of no? Why would this brother say there's nothing wrong with that? So I don't know, bro. This brother sounds like a tap dancer too, to be honest.
And why even keep the throat and lungs? Like what reason? I understand for further investigation, but how long? Oh, sorry, y'all. How long will the investigation last? That's the question.
I want to know what the state's autopsy is going to say, and what are the witness accounts that they are going to put forward in the grand jury.
Officer Tatum, you personally interviewed, you traveled to Mississippi, from my understanding, to personally interview one of the young men who left the island without Nolan. Why should the public trust whatever account is coming from them right now, in your estimation, based on what you've learned? First things first, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, Tatum. Why should we trust those white boys that have been caught on recording and audio saying that Nolan? And it sound like Bart did it. Whoever Bart is, sound like Bart is the one that did it. But everybody else is guilty by association, for just simply covering it up. Who was the white girl on that boat? It was a couple white girls on that boat that said, "Can we cover it up?"
First things first, what did you deduce from the conversation you had from one of the friends that was with Nolan Wells? What did you take away from that you'd like the public to know?
Well, Stephen A., I want to make sure this is clear. I actually spoke to all the boys that were being accused. I spoke to family members. I spoke to also their attorneys. It's just that the one young man had the I wouldn't say
Uncle Ruckus don't like his skin, y'all.
courage, because others had reasons why they didn't want to come on the camera. But he was able to come on the camera, and I interviewed him, and I also interviewed another young man who was black, who was there, who had his own personal accounts of what happened. I'm not asking people to believe or not believe. I just wanted to give people the information. So nobody.
Bro, that's a lie. Tatum, that's a lie, bro. Your entire interview was slanted in one direction. If you were
Exactly.
somebody who
Not just
was not
not.
trying to do it,
It wasn't just one interview that was slanted in one direction. It was every interview he done. Every interview he done was like that. He ain't get the black family the benefit of that at all. He just straight criticized the mama and Benjamin Crump. He got a hard on for Benjamin Crump. Do your homework on what that is.
interview to convince anybody of like anything, you wouldn't do an interview and ask slanted questions, bro. You literally ask, what do you think of them bringing Benjamin Crump and making this a race issue? You, if you were somebody who was, again, you could have asked that question. Oh, yo, what do you think of the work that Benjamin Crump has been doing for Nolan Wall's family? But every question you asked was slanted in the direction of they are race hustling, they're grifting, nothing bad happened here. All right, these people are just doing this for money. That was your narrative, and you pushed it during those interviews, bro. So now you're trying to race hustle and grift as this neutral arbitrator of justice, and you're not. Cut it out.
Nobody had heard from the young boys. Nobody had heard their accounts, and a lot of misinformation was put out there. Some intentionally, some maybe not intentionally, but they were. It was very detrimental.
His black
and
friend
not
was more than an
conducive
Uncle Ruckus,
for
Mr.
the
Toad.
investigation into Nolan Wells' death. It was punitive. They came out and started with race. It had to be something nefarious because these boys are white for any other reason. So I wanted to go out and hear the full story, and what I deduced from the interview and talking to everybody is that these young boys had nothing to do with what ended up happening to Nolan Wells. And also, they were best friends.
How you know that? Just by listening to their words. 'Cause they sound like they was telling a bunch of lies to me. Anybody else think they was trying to tell a bunch of lies? Just comment down below, y'all.
I mean, these kids had so many pictures, so many text messages of them.
Man, stop it, bro. Bro, all these kids came out and said, yo, they were Nolan Wall's best friend, right?
Every one of them.
They all came out. First off, every single one of them says Nolan Wells was my best friend. I can't speak on his relationship with other people, but he was my best friend. Yo, all the friends that came out and said Nolan Wells was their best friend, the follow-up question was, have you met Nolan Wells' mama? And they all said no. These people claim they was Nolan Wells' friend or best friend. Again, they all said best friend, by the way. Now, I don't know how many best friends somebody can have, but they all said Nolan Wells was.
They said apparently Bart is the top 15 college football punters. Their career need to be over. These guys are dangerous. I don't know what that say. Drinking, fighting, no acceptable.
Was their best friend.
Expel
And
them
they say, yo,
all.
we've been best friends since like middle school.
I mean, it didn't happen at the schools. What are you talking about? Expel them. Lock their ass up.
They've been best friends with Nolan Wall since middle school and never met his mama. Never been to his house. Like, come on, bro. Right? Like, yo, what are we talking about here, bro?
So
Man,
many
cut
pictures,
it out,
so
bro.
many text messages of them being closer to Nolan than any other friend group. And also, one thing that shocked me was that this was an island, not secluded, not an island with 5 or 6 people on it. It was an island where there was thousands.
Why would that have shocked you? I'm so confused. Like, what type
People
of
there,
nonsense are we talking about?
hundreds of boats, and also.
Yeah, it was a July 4th celebration. Nobody thought the island was a secluded island. What are you talking about?
So a lot of people could verify the statements that was made from some of these young men. So I really wish.
No, but the people who could verify the statements was Katie, and Katie literally gave a contradictory statement. Like the statement you heard, Warren told you, yo, we called for Nolan in front of Katie.
He chose to stay
Katie
with the
says,
girl.
oh yeah, I heard them calling for Nolan, but that was the last time I seen Nolan was when they called him over. So Warren is claiming, yo, we was calling for Nolan in front of Katie, but he stayed with Katie. Katie said he didn't stay with me. He went with his friends. Man, bro, y'all gotta stop this, bro.
We could have started.
And I believe he went to with the friends. Now, whether Katie was on that boat or not, I will nobody will ever know. But we know for a fact Nolan was on that boat.
At a point to say what happened to Nolan Wells. Let's work together as a community. Let's talk to these young men, talk to other people, and let's find out what happened to Nolan instead of jumping the race.
That's literally what the family did. The family literally said, hey, what happened to Nolan? The father went over to grab Nolan keys. The friends was in a deep sleep, woke him up acting like the father was bothering him or something. Said, I don't know where them keys at. I don't know. Bro, it took one call for a girl to say, bro, the person who told you he don't got Nolan car keys, the
He's
keys
lying.
is on his Xbox.
And that's what makes me believe what Katie says. You know, maybe Katie feels sorry for whatever transpired and she want to help the family because she ain't had nothing to do with the death. But Bart definitely know what happened. I think Bart needs to be the one to sit down in front of that camera. Excuse me. But Katie been helping from the jump. When old Warren and the rest of them have been lying from the jump. But if you're new to the channel, hit the like button. Don't forget to hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next time I post another video or next time I go live. But welcome back to Zay's Reaction channel, where we react to other reactions already out there. For this episode, we all reacting to Flacco and the Nolan case. And if you've been living under a rock, it's time for you to go back and watch all the past episodes. We'll put the link to my page in the description, and you can go from there. I mean, I pretty much covered most of this case, from the autopsies to the audio. So if you've been living under a rock the last couple of weeks since July 5th, July 6th, July 4th, really, that's when it happened. You need to get caught up. I'm not saying it's a black or white thing. I'm saying it's a jealousy thing. And I've been saying that from the jump. Them boys were jealous of what he had going on. They all roughhoused on the boat. Something actually happened, but they never called the police, not an ambulance. Then when they had an opportunity to get help, they denied that. So yeah, they already knew what was going on. It might have been something deeper than we all know.
Right? Again, Nolan Wall's mama and daddy have came out and says, yo, this is not about race, but we'll be remiss if we ignore the signs. So everybody has said it's not about race. That's speaking for Nolan, but yet Tatum has decided that he's going to wage war against the very family who have said it's not about race. Now listen, man. Right? Poetic
Flacco, you very long winded today, buddy.
Black boy.
Nobody's ever said that.
There's no evidence to project that unless you believe every white person is nefarious.
Nobody has ever said that. You just made it up, bro. Right? Yo, how are you compiling on a lie that you made up?
In their dealings with black people. And so I thought that was suspicious on his face. And then they said that Nolan was the only black kid. He was not the only black kid. Many of his black friends were also at the island with him. So, some of those things that started to come out, I knew that they were not.
Nobody ever said that Nolan Walls was the only black kid on the entire island. What we said was, it looks like from his friend group, Nolan Walls was the only black kid. And did we lie? Did we lie when we say Nolan Walls was the only black kid in his friend group? Did we lie? Javon was not a part of that friend group. They told Javon he bunked the lie that he made up. This face. It tells you Tatum is bad.
We have seen the pictures. We have seen the photos. There were a number of people who were gathered out there for the July 4th holiday, but Nolan Wells was with three.
Yo, bro, Tatum is so bad faith. Bro, look at Tatum's reaction. Yo, I've never seen
a more Uncle Ruckus. I never seen Uncle Ruckus in real life.
Or middle of the road fence sitting position on this particular issue than this dude. This dude gave the most middle of the road fence sitting position, which is, I'm not saying nothing bad happened definitively. What I am saying is there's certain facts that needs to be investigated, and there are certain facts that are concerning. That's like the most middle of the road, can't argue with position ever. That's the position that Tatum is claiming that he's representing. Which is why when you see, how do you
Tatum representing them white boys
extreme as the most of us? He's just not. Okay, he's not. But for Tatum right to have a problem with this middle of the road, fence sitting, indisputable, can't really argue with opinion, already tells you Tatum is actually the extremist in the situation. Tatum is actually the one who's grifting in the situation. He's the one that's looking to assign blame to Nolan Wall's family and friends, which is just nasty.
Boys who happen to be white. Those are facts.
Man, come on, man.
He was with, but the thing is that it's facts without context. He was with more than just 3 white boys. That's the problem. There was over 20, 30 kids that got on 3 boats, and they all went to the island together. They didn't just travel with Nolan and just these 3 boys.
He was with, okay, he was on 3 boats with 30 people. 2 of them, well, no. One of them was Nolan Wells, who was black. They claimed Javon was on the 3rd boat. Javon's a black kid. Cool. So it was 2, maybe 3 black kids on a boat with 30. Okay, cool. There was 30 white kids on the boat. What are we talking? How does that make it better?
Warren wasn't even on the boat with Nolan when Nolan went out to the island. So some of those things were mischaracterizations of what actually.
I'm sorry I keep pausing. Again, disingenuous here, Tatum. Let's rewind it back real quick. And when we would tell you, hey, man, Warren was not on the boat to the island. They out here including Warren in a situation for no reason, but neglect to tell you that Warren admits to Tatum's face that he was supposed to be on the boat, or no, he was on the boat with Wyatt, the very same boat that Nolan was supposed to be on the way back. In the audio, the emergency call, they're literally screaming, Warren. Warren admits to Tatum he hopped on the boat and he was helping to fix the pump as well. So again, he's bad faith. He fixed the pump. I was there when we was calling Nolan over to come on a boat. Nolan stayed with Katie. Katie says no, Nolan went with them. So according to Katie, Nolan went on the boat that Warren claimed he was on. So it doesn't matter if that audio came out afterwards. He told Tatum to his face. Tatum conveniently leaves it out because Tatum is a bad faith liar. Tatum is a fraud.
Characterizations of what actually happened. And the thing is that I don't think it's fair to say, because history has shown in part that white people or black people have had injustices, that all of a sudden you project that into a new situation. Black people have done nefarious things to other black people. Does that mean that you automatically jump to saying, oh, black people must be wrong in this situation? Because he had his black friends there too. And why nobody's questioning them? Why nobody's saying, why didn't the black friends rescue him? What if the black kids know?
Because they all lying too. They all trying to cover it up too. Look at what's his name? What's the little light skinned one name? Anyway, the small one is I don't even know what I'm talking about, y'all. I'm sleepy. Let's get back into it.
About Nolan. And many of them said that they saw him last when the white boys had left at 4:30. So
wait, didn't a black friend sit in front of Tatum? Wait, hold on, bro. Didn't a black friend sit in front of Tatum and tell Tatum that he's been getting death threats, that he's been getting blamed? Didn't he tell you that I came out to defend these white folks as a black man thinking that black folks will support me, but black folks told me that I'm not black enough? Or sorry, that black folks are also on my tail? So one of the black friends sat in front of you and told you to your face that he's getting the same backlash his white friends is getting, but now you're saying we picking and choosing. All right, bro, Tatum, at this point, bro, I don't know why y'all keep on platforming this man, bro. He's a fraud.
I just think that the race should never be interjected. Nolan's friends told me, and they proved to me that they were really close to him and they were some of his best friends. They said Nolan would have been incredibly upset at the way people are framing his death and going after his friends with no evidence.
Well, here's the thing.
Tatum, hold on, Charles. I would say this to you, Officer Tatum. I get where you're coming from. And by the way, I appreciate the context and I appreciate the reporting on your part, because numerous reports that I had read was talking about how he was the only black kid there. He was a black kid with a few white boys. And you articulating that fact is very, very important. I think that's important and fair to point out.
Watch that back,
but
though.
What do you say to folks that will ask this kind of a question? He's on a boat. He's on an island. And according to numerous reports, he talked about staying behind and traveling back with a different set of company. Yet his car keys and his phone was left on a boat that he had traveled to those guys with. So what teenager do you know is saying he's staying someplace, but he's going to leave his car keys and his phone on the boat?
Not one of them going to do that. Them phones is like their hips. It's attached to them now.
With the guys that he arrived at the island with. That does seem a bit suspicious, particularly when the guy's mother, Nolan Wells' mother, had to use some app to locate the phone.
And remember when Tatum interviewed the friend, right? He talked about everything up until why in the hell would he leave his phone behind? So he talked about, well, he left his phone on the boat because the water was waist deep and he ain't want his phone to be wet. So he left the phone on the boat. But he doesn't talk about how y'all claim y'all was calling Nolan over and Nolan says, nah, I'm staying. But Nolan at no point said, hey, I'm staying on the island. Give me my phone, please.
That's crazy. Y'all, if y'all want to see part 2, go ahead and hit that like button and comment down below. Till next time, I'm out, y'all.